One late summer's morning, Lita was returning to South Plainsville after completing her first passenger run of the day. She was resting by the water tower when Miss Caldwell came up to her with important news. "I need Milton to pull a special charter train on Friday," she began. "So I would like for you to cover his express for him." "Me? Take the express?" Lita said in surprise. She almost didn't believe what she had heard. "Yes," Miss Caldwell confirmed. "I believe you will do a great job." Later on in the afternoon, Lita was in the coach yards when Milton came puffing up to her. "Hey Milton, did you hear that I'm taking your express Friday?" "Yes, Lita. That's why I came over to speak to you." Lita raised an eyebrow. "You know, the express isn't just any old passenger train. It's very prestige and important. My passengers rely on me to get them to Otisville as fast as possible. And I know, little Lita, you don't have any experience with such a train." Lita was going to reply, but Milton cut her off. "I'm telling you now," continued Milton rudely, "to avoid my passengers being inconvenienced and you any embarrassment, I suggest you tell Miss Caldwell that you cannot take this train. Have someone like Billet pull it, or maybe Scion. They might be better suited for the task." Lita, on the outside, was very cross, but deep down inside, she knew that Milton was somewhat right. She hadn't handled a train like that before, and was now doubting that she could handle it. The next afternoon, Larry was about to settle down for the evening at his junction when Lita came in to pick up some express cars. Larry knew that something was wrong by the look on her face. "Lita, what's the matter?" asked Larry. Lita then told Larry what Milton had said. "Take no notice of that upside-down bathtub," fumed Larry. "He thinks no one could take the express but him. Others have taken it before, even me." "You've taken the express before?" Lita asked. "Oh, yes. I was one of the engines that covered it when Milton got taken off it because he was being very silly when he first arrived." That made Lita feel a little better, but she was still kind of worried. Friday morning came. Lita was the first engine out, just as Milton would be if he was taking the express that day. As she made her way to the station, she watched Jihad bring the express cars to the platform. Milton's words still swirled around in her smoke box. Once Jihad uncoupled from the passenger cars and was in the clear, Lita backed down onto them. She was so nervous she backed into them hard. Oh, watch it!" shouted the passenger cars. "I'm sorry," apologized Lita. The passengers safely boarded and departure time came. The conductor yelled, "All aboard!" When Lita heard that, she was ready. "Come on, let's go," she said, but she pulled off too quickly, causing the passenger cars to bump into each other. "Careful!" they shouted. "Oh, sorry again," Lita said nervously. Now, Lita is a Pacific locomotive, so she is designed for passenger trains. But in her working life, she never had to go this fast with a passenger train before. Because of this, she rode roughly, causing the passenger cars to occasionally bang into each other. "Can you please stop?" groaned the passenger cars. "I'm trying," Lita replied. "I'm trying." Her engineer adjusted her controls just a bit, and it helped things. Lita also began to grow very tired. She only had one station stop that day, and that was at Middletown, and it wasn't that long of a station stop. Lita then passed the steelworks. The large steelworks is a landmark for engines coming from South Plainsville. There was a sign that they were nearing Otisville Union Station. As Lita rounded the curve into the station, she caused the passenger cars to bump into each other again. "Lita!" they snapped. "Oh, sorry, so sorry," she said. She then brought the passenger cars to a stop at one of the through platforms. Lita was uncoupled, and she was brought to the yard for servicing. But when she arrived, she saw there was a long line for the coaling tower. "What's going on here?" she grumbled. "I have an express to take back." "They're having a problem with the mechanism," explained the engine that was in front of her. "But this is going to make me late for my return trip," she groaned. She then looked over at a siding and saw some hoppers loaded with coal. "That's where I'll get it from," she said to herself. She grabbed the clamshell crane and pulled alongside it. "I'm not sure about this," said her fireman. "This coal looks rather shady." "So what if the hoppers look a bit dirty?" Lita replied. "It's still coal at the end of the day. That's all that matters." Lita's tender was soon filled to the top with coal, and she went back to the station, where it began to drizzle. The conductor gave the all clear, and Lita left on her return trip. But during the journey, the weather quickly deteriorated. After the station stopped in Middletown, it began to rain heavier. Her fireman was right. That coal was bad, and Lita began steaming horribly. Amazingly, she managed to make it to the top of Piscataway Hill, but asked her crew to stop her so she could catch her breath. "Well," sighed the fireman, "this coal would have been bad on a bright sunny day, but in this rain it's even worse. The bad traction and Lita's bad steaming, I don't see how she could continue on." "I agree," said the driver. "We're going to have to call for another engine to take the express on." "No," Lita said firmly. "No?" questioned the fireman. "You want to continue on?" "Yes," Lita said. "It'll take forever for another engine to get here. I must get them back home." Her crew were very uncertain, but if Lita was determined, that was good enough for them. The downhill slope helped out a lot, but when they got to level ground, it was all on Lita, and she began to struggle again. She was contemplating giving up at Larry's Junction until she heard the voices of the passenger cars. "Go on, Lita, you can do it. Not long now. Go on, you can do it." After berating her all day, the passenger cars were giving her praise. That gave Lita the confidence that she needed, and she soldiered on. Lita was relieved when she passed SU Tower outside of South Plainsville. She knew then she had made it home. The station agent was about to scold Lita for being late with the express, but when Lita's crew explained what had happened and the passengers began cheering her, his anger quickly turned to a smile of approval. When Lita returned to the roundhouse, the other engines cheered for her. "Well done, Lita," congratulated Larry. "We knew you could do it," praised Kristen. Thank you, all of you," Lita replied happily. All eyes then turned to Milton. Everyone was expecting for him to say something rude, but he didn't. "Lita, I have to admit I was wrong about you. You managed to get my passengers home despite the bad coal and the bad weather. I had a breakdown in bad weather once, and I couldn't continue on. I have to admit that I'm very proud of you." The others were shocked that Milton had gave Lita such high praise and was wondering what Lita was going to say in response. Well, they would have to wait till the next morning to find out, as Lita had fallen fast asleep.